She thought she owned my farm, until I showed her who's really in charge. It started on a quiet Monday morning when I noticed tire tracks cutting straight through the gravel path that runs along the edge of my cornfield. That path isn't a public road. It's a private access lane that sits entirely on my farm property. I didn't think much of it at first, until a shiny black SUV came flying through again the next day. Behind the wheel was the self-appointed queen of our neighborhood, the HOA president herself. She rolled down her window and casually informed me that she decided my unused dirt road was the perfect shortcut for residents. According to her, since my farm bordered the subdivision, it was practically community connected. I calmly explained that it was private land, insured and registered under my name. She smiled like I was confused and said, "We'll see about that." That was the moment I realized this wasn't a misunderstanding. It was the beginning of a war. 2 days after our first confrontation, I found an official-looking envelope taped to my mailbox. Inside was a bright red notice from the HOA claiming I was in violation of community access obstruction. According to Karen, I was illegally blocking a shared roadway and could face daily fines if I didn't restore access immediately. The problem: my farm wasn't part of the HOA. I had never signed their agreements, never attended their meetings, and certainly never agreed to their rules. Still, the letters kept coming, each one more aggressive than the last. Threats of liens, legal action, even towing, unauthorized barriers, if I dared to put any up. She CC'd neighbors to embarrass me and framed it as if I was being difficult. It wasn't about a shortcut anymore. It was about control. Karen wasn't trying to follow rules. She was trying to invent them and force me to bow to authority she didn't actually have. The real wake-up call came late one afternoon when I heard my horses panicking near the fence line. I looked up just in time to see Karen's SUV barreling down the gravel path again, dust flying behind her like a storm cloud. She was going far too fast for a narrow farm lane, especially one that runs alongside livestock fencing. One of my calves had wandered close to the edge. Startled by the engine noise, Karen slammed on her brakes at the last possible second, skidding sideways and missing the animal by inches. Instead of apologizing, she threw her hands up like it was somehow my fault. That moment changed everything. This wasn't just about property rights anymore. It was about safety. My animals, my investment, and even neighborhood kids who sometimes visited the farm were at risk. Her need for a shortcut was turning into a serious liability, and I knew I couldn't ignore it any longer. That night, I stopped arguing and started documenting. I pulled out my property survey, double-checked the boundary lines, and contacted the county to confirm everything was properly recorded. Once I had the paperwork in order, I installed large reflective, private property, no trespassing signs along the entire stretch of the gravel lane. Then I added speed limit markers and trail cameras positioned high in the trees, angled directly at the entrance. Finally, I placed a heavy-duty farm gate at the access point, fully compliant with local regulations, but locked securely. Everything I did was legal, documented, and permitted. I wasn't setting an illegal trap. I was protecting my land. The setup looked simple, almost harmless, but it completely removed her ability to pretend the road was public. I knew she wouldn't back down quietly. In fact, I was counting on her to test it. This time, when she did, the evidence would speak for itself. The moment of truth came during the next HOA meeting, which Karen had called to discuss community access issues. I arrived with printed evidence, property surveys, signed witness statements from neighbors, and photos from the trail cameras showing her SUV speeding through my private land repeatedly. As she began her usual dramatic complaints, I calmly laid out the facts. Every claim she had made about blocked roads and community rights crumbled under the weight of documentation. The board members, who had long been intimidated by her aggressive style, finally saw the reality. She had been abusing her position, ignoring legal boundaries, and putting people and animals at risk. Faces turned, whispers started, and the meeting quickly shifted. Karen, usually so commanding, was left flustered and cornered. By the end, The HOA had to officially acknowledge that my farm was private, and Karen S. attempts to assert authority were over. For the first time, her ego met accountability, and the entire room witnessed it. If you love drama like this, hit subscribe and don't miss the next wild story.